Oh, look at that. Look at that. Hey, why is it that head next to him is so big? What's someone with that head next to him? Thing
Oh
is
no.
big. It's got this like I won an Academy Award vibe to that head next to his. Like,
It's bigger than the fucking Myers head.
did Randy Falk do that? Just to kind of try to tell you something. What is that?
Maybe.
So here we are, in all our glory, episode 15.
15, everybody. Wow, we made it to 15.
Yep.
15 weeks we've been doing this.
As a lad, I wouldn't have thought I made it to 15, you know? I thought I would have been dead in a ditch somewhere. But here we are, episode 15, Jesus. Age 50.
Yeah.
Yep. Lost all will to live. But I'm here.
We're here.
We're going to have on Mr. Jeffrey Combs today.
Woohoo! I'm very excited about Jeffrey Combs. What a great actor, class act.
Yeah. And we're going to talk all Star Trek today. It's going to be an all Star Trek episode.
No.
That's all.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we're going to go over all the various characters from the Star Trek universe. That's what this was about. You didn't.
Is it?
You get the email? Yeah. What? Hell, hold on. Come on.
Rather talk about his Edgar Allan Poe.
We're going to do a deep dive into Dr. Mordred.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, shit. Before we get into that, we're doing it a little bit out of order than how we normally do things. So we're actually going to do our intro before the actual interview, all at the same time. Holy crap. So we don't have to come back and do it again. But in doing so, we didn't have that many questions because we answered all of them in the episode you just saw, episode 14, with our friend from Ice Nine Kills, Spencer. Speaking of which,
we can fit some stuff in that we couldn't fit in on that one because Grandpa was so tired and loopy that he had to check out. So maybe we fit some of those. I don't know. Or maybe
who's Grandpa in the scenario? Is that you?
That's me.
Oh, okay. So look, we just got this in the mail yesterday.
Woohoo!
And
look at that.
Yeah, it's a very cool package. Thank you, Spencer. So it's one is a DVD and one is a CD. But
I'm guessing a live concert type situation.
I don't know. I haven't watched the DVD yet, but it's cool because inside this booklet, it looks like a script, and they laid it out like a little script, the lyrics and stuff. It's pretty cool. They did a nice job with this. I downloaded the music to my iTunes last night and listened to a little bit of it, and I'm liking it. It's got a very Avenged Sevenfold vibe to it, which I don't know if he would agree or disagree with, but to me, it reminded me of Avenged Sevenfold, very theatrical and melodic and heavy. I like it. I'm digging it. I also, so I have 2 copies. I'll be giving you one as well. And I also took a listen last night to the Everscathed.
Oh, how's the Everscathed?
It's really not my thing because I'm not so much for that type of vocals. It's got that kind of vocals. Musically, I was kind of digging it. I'll be honest with you guys. I dug the older one more than the newer one because I was looking at this is like 2008 and this is like 2013. This one, I just know that this one here is the older of the two, and I was digging the production on this one more, specifically the drum sound. Being a drummer, I like the drum sound on this. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I'll listen more. I didn't dive deep into it. I was kind of skimming and listening to different tracks and seeing what caught my ear. But I dig it. You know, yeah. Everscathed. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna give it a listen. I haven't been listening or watching much stuff because I've been busy with work and it's been a little nutty lately. But my schedule, you know. But I plan on having a music room, sit down, listen to all this kind of stuff.
Just got this in the mail from Scream Factory. The
Ooh.
Pumpkinhead Steelbook.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Pretty excited about that.
Pretty cool. I still haven't got anything from Scream Factory. So
just
cool.
keep checking the mailbox every day. Just keep checking.
Okay.
That's all I got to say.
All right.
Yeah, just keep checking. Maybe your mailman's stealing shit. I'm just saying.
He could be. That wouldn't surprise me. It's kind of like when you order food. What do they say? What's the percentage that when you order takeout, the driver eats part of your food?
Ooh, I don't know about that.
It's like there's like a really high percentage of that. I just saw a statistic of like if you ordered, whatever. Let's say you get some garlic knots in there. They're going to take one of your garlic knots. That's why your garlic knots are an odd number. You're like, wait, it's supposed to be 6 or 5. What's going on? It's because they ate one.
It's a hard gig too, and they get hungry.
It is.
So we got a couple questions here before we get into the Coombs interview.
Sweet.
Adam Wilson said, love the show. Every episode has been fun and entertaining. The Halloween ranking video was a ton of fun. I would love to see you guys rank all the Friday the 13th films.
We did that.
Well, sort of. I think they want like a deep dive, an official ranking.
Oh.
Because
we were just skimming the surface on that one.
Flippantly said, this one's better than this one. Blah, blah. Now we got to really think about it.
Okay, I'm down for that.
With the new Scream box set coming out, I think, we've been inviting these various musicians to come on and do rankings. To my surprise, not one person has brought up Friday the 13th. I thought it would have been one of the first ones, like an obvious, but
I guess not a lot of fans of those. I guess it's no, it wouldn't be a generational thing because most of the musicians we've been talking to were younger, right?
Zach and Spencer are the two young ones of all the ones we're going to be interviewing. So,
all right, but the ones coming up are our age,
are fucking crusty like us. Yeah, I mean,
excellent.
Some of them we better get on it. Some of them may not even make it to the interview.
Oh,
COVID, bro. Eddie Van Halen. Who would have thought? I
know. Eddie Van Halen. That was a huge. Not to detract the conversation, but we have to
try to make.
We have to talk about Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, no, we
have to talk about it. I mean, that was huge. That was a big, brutal. I got 5, 6 texts in the matter of 5 minutes from various people going, no, because people know I'm a huge Van Halen fan, as we all are. But I mean, going, Eddie Van Halen died. And I'm like, fuck off. And then, no, Eddie Van Halen died. Like, seriously? And it's crazy. And then a friend of mine said he was reading something about it. The doctors say it looked like he got the cancer from sucking on from metal picks, putting the metal picks in his mouth.
He didn't play with it.
It spread elsewhere.
No.
He did for a long time. Yeah, he did.
It was pretty well known. It was from smoke. It was throat cancer. It wasn't from putting metal.
Oh, I'm sure.
In your mouth.
I'm sure the smoking 5 packs a day has something to do with it. Of course, I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that there's more information about it. Yeah.
Oh man, now that's some conspiracy shit that fucking smokers are coming up with, dude. Metal picks, dude. His music was so metal.
What smokers are coming up with that? No smokers came up with that. I didn't come up with it.
You're the first one that's spreading this nonsense.
That's just you with that hate that you have. You have this weird irrational thing about it. It's so irrational. Do I bust your chops about the fucking Diet Coke every day? Do you know how bad that is? That's as bad as fucking smoking.
Well, you know what?
And you cannot deny that.
It might be, but guess what? When I drink this, it doesn't affect anybody around me. Cigarette smoke, secondhand smoke.
My shit does.
Yeah, it does. Secondhand smoke kills and it stinks.
Oh, does it stink? Is it stinky for you? You don't like it?
Yes, I don't.
You.
Dude, it does.
You. And B, I don't smoke. I don't blow my smoke in people's fucking faces.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. You could be 10 feet away. You can still smell it.
Oh, stop it.
Just saying.
Stop it. I'm going to go on a Diet Coke rant. You want me to go on a Diet Coke rant for the next 30 minutes?
Go for it.
About how terrible that shit is for you?
It does. I'm talking about the people
Pop-Tarts,
around you.
cupcakes,
I'm not
the
sitting
shit
there,
that you eat like a
I'm not sitting there
12-year-old. What
talking
are we
about
talking
like
about?
your health. I'm talking about affecting the people around you. If I drank Diet Coke and every time I took a sip I spit it at everybody, then yeah, then some people around me would have something to bitch about.
Now you're talking like a 12-year-old. Stop it.
Oh, here we go.
This
This is our first on-air argument. This is our first lovers quarrel. I just
no, it isn't.
I'm just fucking with you. All right, let's see. Any chance you guys could ever get Daniel Farrens on for an interview to talk about Halloween 6 as well as his other films? Daniel is a friend. I would think Chris and I, not being the biggest fans of Halloween 6, might not be the best guys to interview him about it. However, though, in his defense, he didn't make the movie. He just wrote the script and they did what they did. So we could talk about having Daniel on. He's a great guy and he's done a lot of stuff. So we'll talk about it. Like we've said, we got a huge
I was
list.
Waiting for that.
Danny Rolling Ghostface. Okay. That's a Danny Rolling Ghostface. Dude, it would be cool to hear from actor Stu Charno, a.k.a. the guy from the movies Friday the 13th Part 2, Christine Sleepwalkers, or actor Courtney Gaines from Children of the Corn, Back to the Future, The Burbs, just saying. Also, Stu Macher was my favorite GFK, and it would have been epic in his family from... Wait, hold on. Stu Macher. Oh, wait. Okay, Stu Macher is Matthew Lillard's character in Scream.
Gotcha.
People put this stuff and they assume immediately we know everything, which, we appreciate you think we're that knowledgeable. Yeah. And it did come to me. The old gears went...
It did. Wouldn't have never come to me.
Stu Macher was my favorite GFK ghost face killer. And it would have been epic if his family from the movie Serial Mom would have made a cameo appearance in Scream. And I still say... there should be a Serial Mom sequel with the same cast. Ace Haney, I know Ace, good guy, said slam dunk once again. Chris Nelson was hammered. Loved it. What was in the cup?
I don't think I was hammered.
You might have.
Which episode are we talking about?
I'm assuming this is in regards to Matthew Lillard.
Oh, I wouldn't do this hammered. I couldn't do it hammered. I've mentioned this before. I have a torn rotator cuff in 2 places in my shoulder, and it gives me a tremendous amount of pain. So on occasion, not often, I'll take a painkiller to alleviate some of that with an ibuprofen. And sometimes it might make me a little loopy. And then combo that with being tired guy and talking for... Do you know how hard it is to talk for fucking 3-4 hours? It's really difficult. I would never get ripped doing this. I couldn't do it if I was ripped. Are you kidding me? Sean knows what I'm like when I'm ripped. I couldn't do this.
I think you'd be more entertaining.
Really?
You're pretty fucking funny when you're hammered.
All right. Well, then I guess from after this show on, I'm going to get ripped.
I mean, you're already funny, but you're funnier. James Crane said, since you guys are both fans of Sackhead Jason from Part 2, what are your thoughts on The Town That Dreaded Sundown?
Look,
Sacks unite! Yeah, you know me. I always have my sack handy.
You're about the sack. I'm surprised yours isn't.
Episode is sponsored by. No, I'm kidding.
By. I'm surprised yours isn't covered in powder over there.
How do you know it's not?
Boom. What was the question?
What are your thoughts on The Town That Dreaded Sundown? Do you think that the Phantom Killer was an influence on the look of Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th Part 2? Absolutely.
Sure.
I mean, it's exact same look.
Yeah.
I mean, what, minus one eye hole?
Right.
Yeah,
sure.
I think they probably saw that and, well, that's spooky. That could be spookier if they'd done it better. Because I think The Town of Dread Sundown is a mediocre film. I like it because it has that weird sort of documentary vibe going on.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, like, there's some corny shit. Like, the trumpet thing with the knife. I'm like, what? I don't know.
I like the idea. Again, it's another movie where I like the idea of it better than I like the actual film.
And I was so hoping for the remake to be killer because I thought,
yeah.
Did you see the remake?
Yeah, I saw it. Actually, I saw it before anybody. I saw a cut of it because the director of it, Alfonso, he was one of the directors on American Horror Story. When I was working on Horror Story, he had directed that and he was cutting it, and he invited us to go and look at it. And I saw it. I was so excited. And yeah, I was disappointed.
What happened, Alfonso? I was so excited for it because of the potential I knew it had that I actually went and blind bought it. You know, like at Best Buy, I went and just bought the Blu-ray, and I got home and I was like, really? I actually like the original better than this. I thought, you know, did we get sidetracked from Eddie Van Halen?
We did.
Okay, so interesting thing happened last night. As we're recording this, I'm still putting the finishing touches on the ranking episode with Spencer from Ice Nine Kills when we rank the Scream franchise, which will likely be put up later today, which makes no difference to any of you watching this now because that'll have been a week ago. But I was editing it last night, and there was a bit where there was somebody who wrote in who suggested like 50 guests, and we were kind of giving them shit at the end, laughing like, and the first thing you said, you're like, hey man, I'd love to have Eddie Van Halen on the show. And yeah, I was editing that, and I edited it, and then I added in text saying, as of the recording of this, you know, he had not passed away. And then I'm just like, God, it just brings the mood down, period. I just cut it out because I just felt like the timing was bad, and we were so jubilant, you know, right. Like, hey,
yeah.
Eddie, man,
yeah. I just that'll come off a little insensitive, probably.
Even if I put the text there saying, you know,
right,
disclaimer.
Yeah. No, that's a good call.
But it was no, it was just weird that you had. I mean, that was literally the day before I think he passed. You were like, dude, I would love to have Eddie. He was the one person you said, Eddie Van Halen. Man, what a bummer, man.
It is such a bummer because it does, you know, like these things when you have somebody who influenced your generation. It's like this for anybody who's a fan of somebody that influenced you and changed your life and you looked up to, or you grew up with, or you know, there's so many moments over the course of the Van Halen history that are pivotal in my life, that Van Halen was there, like it was playing, or the certain album or a certain song and a certain look, and you know, especially being musicians, and you know, there's so much influence on top of the musical admiration and the but you know, it's a friend of mine said that Van Halen was so pivotal, and Eddie Van Halen, it was like, they're one of those bands, and he was one of those guys. There was everything before Van Halen, and then everything after. You know what I mean? They were that influential, and it's so sad. It really hit me hard because that guy was, oh my God, I can't even Eddie Van Halen everything. I had Van Halen. It was as much of a Kiss fan as I was, or a horror movie fan. I was a Van Halen fan up until a certain point. Then I kind of checked out. But early, you know, the first 4 or 5 albums of Van Halen, forget about it. You know?
Yeah, I'd made a post when I found out. I mean, as you see behind me, right up here, I have this great autographed picture of Eddie in his heyday. I mean, I'm a huge fan, and I also have in my garage that classic poster of him from like the Jump era, where he's kind of leaning down, smiling. Just that classic poster. It's up on my ceiling in my garage. I have my collage of classic posters in the garage, and I have a tradition every year. I go to the Orange County Fair. That's just something I've been doing since I was a little kid. Unfortunately, this year it was canceled because of COVID, because it's always in July. The one memory that always immediately pops in my head every time I'm at the Orange County Fair is me and my buddy Ken, my best friend since childhood. What's the ride that's kind of tilted, but it doesn't like come on? It kind of goes like this and just in a circle. You know the one I'm talking about? It goes.
I do. I don't know what you call that. Everyone calls it something.
It's not a scrambler. Scrambler's a thing that spins and has the different arms, but it basically is a circle that's on a tilt, but it kind of does a wave thing as it goes around. anyway, they used to have that ride there, and for years it was always just cranking awesome rock music. And I remember the first time me and Kenny rode it, soon as we got on it, just boom, 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 boom. Running with the Devil, which we loved, came on, and we were like, fuck yeah. So we were like screaming, and it was just like that moment, you know, when there's certain points in your life that you can remember because of a song. And that moment just sticks in my head constantly of, you know, Running with the Devil. And the first song I ever learned on guitar when I was like 12 was You Really Got Me, you know. It's such an easy riff. What a loss, man. Never got the chance to meet him.
I never did either. I've always wanted to. I never got a chance. I saw them live countless times. I can't even tell you how many times I saw them.
I never saw them live, which haunts me, because I could have gone to that reunion. What was it, 2012 or whatever? But I stood my ground because Michael Anthony wasn't playing bass. I was like, no.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a good. I back you on that.
I was like, it's not Van Halen without Michael.
It's not Van Halen without Michael Anthony. I saw them, last time I saw him was on Jimmy Kimmel Show. I have a friend of mine who was the makeup artist for the Jimmy Kimmel Show, and Van Halen was playing out on Hollywood Boulevard. They put a stage on Hollywood Boulevard and blocked it off, and that was the performance where David Lee Roth split his nose open with the mic.
Yeah,
that was the very first song. We went. Me and my buddy Kevin Wasner were standing right in the front of the stage because we had an in, you know, so we're like standing right there. They came out, they started, it was Panama. They started with Panama. So it's like, dun, 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 and he's doing his whole thing. He's like, you know, zippity bop, and he's doing his thing. And then cut his nose right open, blood. He just walks off stage, off the side of the stage. And the band kept playing. They just kept playing those bars over and over again, looking off to the side. David Lee Roth over there, my friend Stephanie Fowler, who does makeup, like, oh, the blood. I saw them, I believe they put super glue on the bridge of his nose and closed it up and put a Band-Aid on it. And he grabbed his mic stand, came back out, did the rest of the show. It was amazing. But that was the last time I saw him.
Dude, what shitty luck, right? This is your moment to reintroduce yourself to the world.
Yeah,
you cut your face open.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
But yeah, so sad and such a bummer. And I listened to Van Halen. Yesterday I was in the shop painting all day, and I listened to every single album. I made it up to 1984 before I finished. But yeah, just listen to every single album. Just such a shame. Such a shame.
Do you have a favorite album?
I have lots of favorite albums. I'm partial to
Diver Down?
No. Fair Warning. I'm partial to that one. It's darker, it's weirder, it's got Unchained on it, which is my all-time favorite Van Halen song is Unchained. So I'm partial to that. Van Halen 1 and 2 are great. Van Halen 1, obviously. I even like Women and Children First, which is, you know, Diver Down's mostly covers. I think that the whole second side of that is covers.
Yeah.
But there's some good songs on Diver Down. I wish it had all original material, but that was a good time. But yeah, I'd say Fair Warning's my favorite.
I think I have to go with Van Halen 1, just because Running with the Devil, Eruption, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
Really got me. I mean, it's weird. They did a lot of covers.
It's a lot of covers.
Yeah.
That was all David Lee Roth wanting to be. Vegas is Bob. Did you ever read his book?
No.
I read his book. Oh, that's right. I know. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I went, that was a dumb question to ask. You don't read.
You know, we joke about this stuff. I do read. I mean,
he does read.
I do. I was just the last thing I was reading, there's a book on the making of The Elder. There's somebody wrote a book on the whole Kiss album, The Elder. I've been reading that. But what about his book?
His book is like, it's so David Lee Roth. You can't even, I got through it all. It was really difficult, but it's like David Lee Roth. It's like, all right, chapter 1. Well, back in the 1973 when we were playing Burbank, but hey, kitty cat teacups, and I don't like broccoli, but I put them in my juice because the sky is gray. My car wheels are turning, but the clowns are still getting out of the trunk. And you're like all over, and you're going, what the fuck is he talking about? Like none of this makes any sense. There's no rational thought through any of it, you know? And I don't know if it's because of the drugs or if he's just crazy or if he's trying to be so entertaining, you know, that he's just so all over the place. Ding. He's a professional. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for coming here. Cheers.
A little seltzer water here.
Got a little bottle of water there.
Bottle of water.
Cheers, cheers.
So let's talk about the big question lately is, so what have you been doing during this weird time? You know, what do you do to keep yourself sane and busy and happy?
As happy as I can be in this. Well, like everybody, it's a bit of a trial. Some of my go-tos, one main go-to, I've kind of found that I am unable to do, and that's read. Mm-hmm. You know, it used to be like, well, got some time, get a good book, and just kind of immerse myself in another world or an idea or a time in history. And I just find that my brain is too anxious to really get to the place where I can just kind of relax. I find myself sometimes while I'm watching TV, I look down and notice that my leg is fidgeting. Like, so clearly I'm not at rest. I used to go for a lot of walks, but now with the fires and the residue of the fires all around me, you know, the air is bad. Mm-hmm. So for the last 3 or 4 weeks, that's been taken away from me. It's kind of I was in prison and now I'm in solitary confinement. That's getting better, I hope. I'm glad about that baseball is there. Mm. So that I can just sort of, okay, cardboard cutouts, phony noise of crowd, but still I can immerse myself in a game and escape.
Yeah, I feel the same way about football and basketball. It's been so nice to have a regular Sunday, get up, watch the games, just chill.
Yeah, if it's not baseball now, it's some football. Those are my 2 main sports. So at least I have that. I have crossword puzzles. My daughter's been here, one of my daughters. And so that's been a bit of a comfort that she's here and one more person to kind of bond with and be with and go through this with. I really got into streaming some series, you know, on like
any suggestions, good stuff, found some good stuff.
Well, you know, I'm a big fan and have been for a long time of all of the Michael Connelly novels. Mm-hmm. Hieronymus Bosch. I don't know if you've read any of those books. They're really quite enjoyable. Many years ago, I picked up one as a lark, and I really liked it. And then I was fairly early on in his writing career. He used to be a journalist, reporter for the LA Times, and he started writing crime novels based in LA. So he created this character, Hieronymus Bosch, everybody calls him Harry Bosch, and he's a homicide loner detective, LAPD, but ruthless, relentless, I should say, in his pursuit of justice and, you know, the bad guy. And they're nice yarns mixed with a lot of, I know where that's at. I know exactly where that's at, kind of, sort of.
Are they period? Are they like a noir type of, like that kind of vibe?
They're in that ilk, but, well, you know, he's been writing it for about 20 years. So at this point, they are kind of period. But when he started, they weren't. I mean, Bosch was a tunnel rat in Vietnam. He was a orphan. His mother was a prostitute who was killed in an alley in Hollywood. He became a foster child. His father was not in the mix at all. Joined the army, went to Vietnam, came back, joined the LAPD, moved up to be a homicide detective. And so he's got this deep-seated need to find justice. His mother's murderer was never found. So he's got this incomplete, thing inside of him, and so manifests his work with that. And he was a chain smoker and a loner, likes to listen to jazz, lives a house on stilts in like the Coyga Pass. That he got the seed money for that by selling the rights to one of his cases that he solved to the movies. So it's all very noir in that way, but sort of updated. And then as time went by, it wasn't so cool for him to be smoking. So that was taken away. And then, so, he's had to go through kind of an evolution, just like all of us have with that. And then when the series came along.
What's the series called?
Bosch.
Bosch, okay.
It's on Amazon Prime. So what they did when the series came along is they updated it. And I mean, I heard this through the grapevine. Updated it, made it more modern. It wasn't Vietnam. It was,
Iraq or something.
Iraq, exactly. And so that really turned me off. I was very possessive of the character. I was like, I would rather keep my image of him than be disappointed. Somebody else's version of it. So I really balked for a long time at going into this series. I was sort of, I don't think so. My daughter came, we were looking for something. I went, okay, let's try that. She hooked me up to Amazon Prime and we just gobbled it. And
So you like it?
Yeah, I really like it. And I think that the actor, Titus Welliver, really does play the music well of who Bosch is, hits all of the melancholy, good actor.
Yeah.
And I came in skeptical. So another thing about the series that really kind of blew me away is the executive producer, Eric Overmyer. I worked with in theater in Portland, Oregon back in 1977.
Wow.
For a summer, we did 2 shows together. He directed one of them. He acted in them. So it's very strange when people's trajectories, So
have you had any contact with him since then? I mean, do you still know him?
Yeah, I DM'd him and told him, how much I was enjoying the series and all of that. He really appreciated that. One of the things in the series is as time went on, Bosch had a daughter, and she's kind of in her late 20s and at the point of the series beginning. So there's this she lives with him and there's this real father-daughter motif going on. And here I am with my daughter, So I sort of expressed that to Eric as well. And so, but I'm not a kind of guy who says, hey, by the way, and why don't you hire me?
Right.
I figure if Eric is inclined to do that, he will. But I don't tend to be the guy who bugs people about that stuff.
Come on, Eric. Let's get him on the show. All right.
I agree. It sounds like a really rich character.
It's shot really well. It's beautifully shot, and character development's really good, and corruption in the LAPD and in politics and grimy, ugly side of LA. I'd recommend.
Which is hard for me to watch because I live, living in LA. I know the grimy side. I don't want to see a show about it. It's like, God. But I like the idea of if they would have stuck to the books or the noir, the more period stuff.
It's very, yeah, I would have too. On the other hand,
I'll give it a shot. Yeah,
that stuff has to be sort of updated so that it's more relevant to a lot of people. I love noir.
Yeah,
yeah.
The way it's shot, that German expressionism kind of, light and dark and slants and shadow and light and the melancholy of it all, the kind of cynicism. I sort of feel like noir came out of kind of a, they didn't call it PTSD in those days, but a lot of those guys that came home from World War II were kind of broken and hurting, and they didn't know really how to express it. And I just sort of think that noir kind of expressed that.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
It was definitely visually representation of what they were all feeling inside and how they viewed the world. Yeah.
Well, exactly, and it's sort of interesting also that a lot of that, the visual of noir was brought from Germany.
Yeah.
From a lot of cinematographers and directors that had come out of World War I. And this technology and their own emotional kind of blend to sort of express their own ennui visually, and then that's transported to us, and we embrace it in our own way.
Yeah, kind of like when, the original Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein was all very German expressionism, very heavily influenced.
There you go. Yeah. And also it comes out of necessity. I remember doing a movie with William Malone, wonderful horror director, and there was a scene where at the end of the hall was a stairway going down. We were like, you're on the second floor. And all they did was, of course, there is no stairway. What they did, they put a stair rail and then a light through those rails that shined up on the wall, and it just fills space and conveys that there's something there very cheaply and effectively. Parasomnia.
Parasomnia, that's right.
Parasomnia.
I didn't see Parasomnia. I never saw it.
Yeah, it's good. It's surreal and kind of hallucinogenic at times, disturbing. Bill's had some freedom in it. It has a lot of his imagery in it, and a lot of his, every director has their own sort of bag of issues or images that arrest them and that they tend to kind of go back to. And that's it. Parasomnia is a bit of a heartbreaking story for Bill, because he basically financed that movie himself, and he did it, and he made it, and the intent was, I will sell this, obviously, and then the economic downturn happened in 2009, and as you guys know, all of a sudden our industry was, oh, you want to sell a movie? Well, it's dime to the dollar now, and so that really hit him hard, because he had a plan and it was a good one, and he saw it through until the finished product, and then it was like there were no buyers at the price that could help him recoup.
Now I'm wondering, if he financed it himself, did he do that with the money he made from selling Robbie the Robot, or did he sell Robbie the Robot because he needed the money because he lost all the money financing that movie?
He sold Robbie the Robot many years later.
Oh, okay. Because I know he made a mint on that sucker.
Yeah. Yes, he did.
I have a question for you. Do you have, just, it comes to my mind in talking this, do you have a film that is your favorite that you've done, not so much experience-wise, but more as a film, looking at it from an outside perspective, taking yourself out of it and looking at the film as a whole? Do you have one that you like, that you have a favorite?
That's a good question, because there are films that I like because of the experience of making it, as opposed to how well it turned out or the memories that it brought me. I mean, I made a number of movies in Italy, and most of them aren't, to me, as good as others. but damn, I was in Rome for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think of that movie, I think of the experience of making it rather than how it turned out. But there are a handful, any actor will tell you this, there's a handful of films that you truly feel were of a piece. It's really hard. It's a collaborative art. Mm-hmm. So many pieces have to come together for it to be fully realized, and anything can trip you up. You can have a great movie and like crappy music. You can have a great movie and like your editor is not so strong, mm-hmm. Or there's a weak performance, or it's just so many.
Or a studio doesn't get behind it, or
they don't understand it and don't know how to promote it properly, or put it out at the wrong time, or all of these factors. So, I mean, right out of the gate for me, Re-Animator was such a magical, remarkable convergence of really good choices and people in the right places making the right decisions. That's so rare. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even realize it at the time. Just all the pieces fit. Casting, editing, music, decisions.
And who would you say was the captain of that ship that made all that happen? Do you think, was it Stewart?
Well, Stewart was certainly the driving force of telling, for instance, what he wanted from all the special effects guys. Mm-hmm. And no, that's not quite what I want. Being really, really clear and articulate about his vision. Mm-hmm. You can't be vague about that stuff, because you have to be really on it, I think, as a director. And so that was really great. I also, though, he was a first-time director. And I think that on set, he didn't quite, and I'm not saying this from a point of view that I did and he didn't, because I didn't either, but I did witness, like, screen direction was a confusing thing for him at times. He's a quick learner, but he had Mac Albert. He had the great cinematographer Mac Albert, shot a lot of movies for Charlie Band, and always beautifully lit. And but Mac was there to say, that's not going to help your editor. Mm-hmm. I remember some arguments about, we're good. I shot that and that and that, and we can move on. And Max saying, I remember vividly him saying to Stewart, your editor will hate you. And so that's a happy accident that you had somebody in that with a firm hand and knowledge, because Stewart sometimes was adamant about his opinion and needed some challenge back at him. I do remember standing next to Mac. He's looking in the camera lens, setting up a shot, and I'm just kind of standing next to him, and he pulled his eye away from the lens, and he just said, kind of to himself, maybe to me, he said, I think this movie will be pretty good.
That's great.
And I said, what you do? I do. And he was right.
I mean, that's another one that, it's a testament to the cast too. I mean, because it's just such a great cast. I mean, David Hale and Barbara and Bruce.
That's a testament to Stewart, though. Yeah. Stewart came out of the theater and he knew actors, and he knew, like, it's like putting a band together, who's on bass, who's playing rhythm, who's on the organ, and I need a horn section, and I know some, he knew good when he saw it, and so that's a testament to Stewart's choices. It's all about choices. And so there's Re-Animator. Frighteners.
Mm.
Frighteners. Pretty damn fine film.
Yeah, I have a
Very
question
proud of
about that. I love that movie. I'm a huge fan of Frighteners. I think it's great. And I was lying in bed last night thinking about all these things I wanted to say, and I know we have a lot to cover, but I'm curious that your character is so, to be honestly, and I'm not blowing smoke, your character is my favorite character in that film. I mean, it's my favorite thing of that movie. It's so rich and cool and weird and unique and strange and well acted, and such a character, like a rich character that you get. Like, I got that character a lot, and I was curious as to, where did you find that guy? What was the inspiration for that character?
My agents pitched me much earlier in the audition process, and I was turned down for an audition because I was too young for what Peter was looking for. I didn't know that. I found that out later. And so they went all over, through a lot of people, and they weren't finding what Peter was kind of looking for. So maybe out of, let's go farther afield, I did get to audition for it. And the really lucky aspect of that is that I had a week with the material. I don't know if you guys know, but usually actors, TV, film, and it's gotten worse over the years. It's like you have an audition. It's 5:00 in the afternoon. You have to be there tomorrow at 11:30. I'm sending you the 10 fucking pages now.
Yeah.
This is counterproductive to doing a good audition. I'm sorry. It's like ridiculous. But with this one, I had a week with a lot of material. As I recall, it was the interrogation scene with Michael J. Fox.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of verbiage there. And I immediately saw how lovely this dialogue was. So I worked on it for a week, and I went in there, and guys, I did everything wrong. I went in with choices like I wore glasses. I didn't shave for a few days. Just not
everything opposite of what it turned out to be.
Not what you see on film, particularly at all.
Right.
Some neuroticism going on, but not what you see. So I read it, and Peter gave me some notes. He basically said, I don't want you to look at him. If you do look at him, it's fleeting and you're away. You can't look at people. I can play that. I get that. Okay, of course. And he said, attack and retreat. Attack and retreat. And I can play these things. Like, I knew exactly what he kind of was getting at. And so that's what I did. I hooked into that right away. I'm not always capable of doing that, but in that particular one, I could. And, it wasn't like I got the part right away. There's everybody's got to see the tape, and everybody's got to sign off, and, the studio, and Robert Zemeckis, and blah, blah, but it kept looking like I'm still in the mix. You got the part. So I was totally elated. So I went down to New Zealand just to read the scenes in front of Fran and Peter and the rest of the cast. They flew us down there for basically table reading before we ever shot. And so that was another place where Peter and I could kind of talk through this, and we just gelled. It was a collaboration. How he looks and everything, that was kind of me. There were definite things that Peter brought to the table. He wanted him to have black eyes, like the dilated, not gonna contract, kind of really spooky eyes, and contact lenses and all that stuff. So I brought to the table, I went to the New Zealand library in Wellington, Wellington Library, and I brought back to Peter a book of picture book of all things, young Hitler. And I showed him a picture of Hitler's haircut, you know, that kind of thing. Now, okay, I'm an FBI agent, but I'm an undercover FBI agent. So I was thinking maybe the place that I was at before I was called in to investigate this ghost phenomenon, maybe I'm in a fucking neo-Nazi cult undercover. And so, you know, it's pretty obscure.
Yeah.
But I was looking for something that conveyed kind of, when you are so patriotic to a country or a flag, as we have a lot of this right now, you are really go into this place of complete blind allegiance. You'll do anything for your country to the point of self-destruction. And I just sort of thought that Dammers should have not been doing what he's doing for about maybe 10 years. You know, pulling that my shirt open with all those scars on my body. This is evidence of just destroying yourself in the name of country. And so I just thought he's just damaged goods.
Right.
It's just broken.
Well, it definitely comes across that way. That character, there was a history there. There was a pathology to it, and where he just was, and
not the guy that should be doing this. You know, right, it's kind of like the cop that comes in, and you immediately go, okay, this is the wrong guy. This guy needs help, and he's supposed to help me. We got problems. So highly collaborative with Peter, highly collaborative. So he immediately went, I like that hair. It's like, oh, shit. Okay. Just making choices with Peter. I put things behind my ears to make them stick out so that the frightening hair might be offset with a little bit of buffoonery. Just trying to...
Well, it would be an insecurity of his, wouldn't it? Technically, it would
all of that.
You know, yeah.
And those insecurities are actually what drove him to do what he's done for God and Country here. You know, he's now an absolute mess and doesn't know it. And so we just had a good time, and it was one of the most collaborative experiences I've ever had with a director. So generous and so trusting, Peter was.
It's great. And Wellington's an amazing place. I've been to Wellington, and it's beautiful. It's amazing. And the people are amazing. Yeah.
I got to spend a lovely 3 times I went down there and spent good chunks of time, and I just fell in love with that place. I still think of it today.
I've had their beef, but I've never been there.
You mean their lamb?
The lamb Wellington?
Oh, beef Wellington is
See
not
what he did there?
Yeah.
That's not from New Zealand. Wellington was a Duke of Wellington.
I'm being silly.
I know you are.
I've never been to New Zealand. One of these days I'll get there.
Yeah.
It's a great place.
Windy Wellington.
So we have some questions from fans.
Love it.
Chris just stole one of them. That was...
Oh, sorry.
So you can apologize to Frankie Pozos, who wanted to know what his inspiration was for creating Milton and the haircut, and you covered it. But he also had a little note. He wanted to say Nevermore is still the best show I've ever seen.
Poe's birthday was only a couple of days ago, so Poe thanks you for that.
410 Goodfella. Now these are these weird little, they're little online names. He said, I'd love to ask Jeffrey Combs about his experience on House on Haunted Hill. I watch it every October and always get creeped out by his performance as Vannacut. I'd love to hear any memories he has from the set if possible.
Well, a couple things about House on Haunted Hill. It was a godsend for me. Because I always think of these things in terms of where I was in my life. I had just then put everything I could into buying this house. It's a modest little place, but it's mine, and 20 some odd years ago, my wife, my pregnant wife, and I had moved in, and I had no money and kind of anxious about this decision, but I had to make it, and the phone rang, and it was an offer, and it was a generous offer for 3 days work. And I went, bless William Malone. Because the story he told me is they handed him a list and said, these people have all been pre-approved to do this role by the studio. I'm sorry, but really? Thankfully, my name was on it.
Oh, nice.
And without hesitation, he went, Jeff Combs. Because I had worked with Bill once before. We did an episode of a short-lived series on Showtime called Perversions of Science.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And there was an episode I was in, Exile, with Ron Perlman, David Warner, Jeff Corey, the great older actor. He was in his 80s then. This was a really wonderful little, sort of really dark, sort of Twilight Zone-y kind of piece. And Bill and I got along great with that. And so it just kind of saved me. I had no lines. Let's scratch that. I had one line, and they chose to cut it. I don't remember what it was. It was one word maybe that I yelled. So here I am, 3 days, nicely paid. It was a miracle. And okay, on set, the scene of where I come out all quirky and moving and pull up that knife and all of that. How Bill shot that was, people have emulated that and copied that, and what he did is this is in the era of film. So he said, Jeff, this is what I want you to do. I want you to walk in slow motion, really, really slow, really, really slow. My reference was the old NFL films, where they they just slow everything down, and so that's what I did. And meanwhile, the camera is going. I mean, they are burning film. Mm-hmm. But that's how you get slow motion on film. Mm-hmm. And so it came out just so icky. Bill knew that was just a disturbing kind of frightening kind of imagery. And to this day, it's really geeks people out. They just ick out on that one. And so I really had a great time sort of icking it out with Bill.
We did that. We that came from Jacob's Ladder, that technique. A movie called Jacob's Ladder with Tim Robbins. But Malone did it. I did a Malone show. It's called The Others that he directed. It was a series, brief. And we did these weird guys with these strange faces, and they were naked, painted all white, and we would shoot them like that, really slow motion, and he'd make them go like this, super slow, and then with that speedy camera, and then when it comes out, it's all like it's this weird thing.
So he loves to play with his technical toys like that to create alternative realities and does it very effectively. Parasomnia has a lot of that too. A lot of imagery that's off-putting, which is exactly what he wants to do.
I need to watch Parasomnia. I always meant to watch it, but I never picked up a copy, so I have to see if I can find it online.
I think you'll like it. I think you'll like it.
Brandon Peterson said, if may I ask,
no.
What's a project or job that you were passionate about that fell apart before production or was passed on? Is there anything that you were like super excited to do? Well, I would think maybe the Poe film would be one of them, but
yeah, that's been a real disappointment for me for years. A lot of fits and starts, mostly fits. A lot of disappointment, and just so everybody knows, I did an episode of Masters of Horror where I played Poe, the Black Cat. And while we were shooting it, Stuart said, you ought to do a one-man show of this. I was really resistant. He persisted for a year and a half, and I finally went, fine. What would that be? And we wound up doing a one-man show of Poe that ran in LA, was a 4-week run, ran into like off and on years at a theater in LA. And I have taken it, across the country to different places, Boston, Austin, Montreal, Nashville, San Diego, New York, Baltimore for his bicentennial. It's just, and at one point we said, we want to make a film of this. We'd like to make a film of it. Actually, the one who really was a driving force in that was Darren Scott. Who just came. He's just a lovely guy, a good friend of mine.
His movie just came out, Tales from
the Hood 3.
Yeah,
I know, and I'm happy for him for that. Well deserved. He should work more. And he came to me with this. We should do a Kickstarter campaign, but this was when Kickstarter was like, a hot new way to get something made. I like that idea, and I took it to Stuart, and he kind of liked it too, with his own bent on things. Stuart did not want to just film the stage show. He wanted to, rightly, he's a director, he wanted to blow it out into a full-fledged movie where you go into these, basically my one-man show is a recital. Poe recites poems. I read a story, but he talks about his life and his loves and his losses and his grievances. And so Stuart wanted to go into those stories, go into those poems, go away from the stage into those worlds. And that makes sense. Of course, it also makes you have to raise a lot more money.
Yeah.
Because you're not just in a theater now, you are going to locations and building sets, and it's a whole other thing. So that drove up our asking price on Kickstarter. We tried to say, well, let's just kind of get enough money, ask enough money so that we can film the stage show. Let's just do that. And Stuart refused halfway measures. No, we're gonna ask for this amount of money, and we'll get it. Well, we didn't get it. We didn't get it because we were really rubes when it came to Kickstarter. None of us were really tech savvy or how to do that. We also learned a really hard lesson. Stuart, me, and if it were Lovecraft, I don't think it would have been an issue. Mm-hmm. But we wrongly assumed that Poe would be the same. Mm. And what we learned is that Lovecraft has a whole pop culture kind of vibe going on, mm-hmm. and Poe's more literary and doesn't have quite that same kind of enthusiasm out there.
kind of does now, though. Not to interrupt you, sorry, but it's gained a lot of, I guess, for lack of a better term, like you say, pop or hipster kind of traction now. I see so much of it now. Poe references and Poe illustration and Poe graphics and Poe. It's like it's become a very popular.
I've noticed that too. But we're talking about then, not now.
Right.
And so we fell short. We made a goodly amount of donations, but not near what we needed to. So that sort of fell apart. And so there's been other nibbles, other companies that have come along and wanted to do it, and then it just never quite ever, that plane never got off the ground again. And so that's been a real disappointment for me. I think that's the big one. The other one was I would have loved to have done one more Re-Animator movie.
Still a chance, right? No?
I suppose.
Without Stewart, I mean, do you feel that it's not right to do it without him, or if there was a good enough script and the right people behind me? Look, they're making a 5th Scream, and it's the first one Wes isn't involved in.
Stewart only did the first one, and there's Bride and there's Beyond Re-Animator, both of them directed by Brian Usna, who produced them. Stewart could have directed the second one. Strangely enough, he opted not to. The story I heard was that his agent said, listen, if you want to expand your career, directors don't do sequels. was sort of the argument put forth. And
come to think of it, Stewart never did do a sequel to anything, did he? I can't think of anything.
No, he never did. So that's our loss, I think, because boy, Stewart has a voice and a point of view that's captivating and powerful and sometimes shocking. He just chose not to do it. However, he was coming back to the fold with House of Re-Animator, which was a really kind of good story, a progression where things are going wrong in the White House, the House, and somebody's dead. A leader is dead, and they can't be dead. What can we do?
Man, there's nothing more timely than this right now.
Yeah, this was during the time of Bush, Cheney, and all of that. And Stewart was really, really upset about this. And so, his take on it was, it's going to be Bush, and it's going to be Cheney, and we're going to humiliate them. And okay, that's okay. But, my argument was like Dr. Strangelove. Dr. Strangelove really pokes a finger in power and absolute power, corrupting absolutely, and all of that. However, it wasn't on the nose.
Yeah.
And it wasn't overtly, specifically political. And when has Re-Animator been that anyway?
Right.
So to me, it was kind of like, boy, if we do get greenlit for this, we're gonna alienate a percentage of our audience like this when we never did that before. Mm-hmm. And frankly, it never got made, I think, because producers and money people probably said the same thing. But sure. Stewart was adamant in not adjusting, not taking that in. There's something very 60s radical about Stewart. Mm-hmm. Once he had an idea and his dander was up, he was forthright in his belief.
Was there a script?
So, oh yeah.
Who wrote it? Did Stewart write it? Who wrote it?
Yeah, I think Stewart had was in, I'm trying to remember who actually wrote, but Dennis Paoli, I think, was definitely in the mix there. So that one crashed and burned.
You think he could do that now considering the world we live in and how polarized we are and how we are, and
one of the last, bless his heart, but one of the last conversations I had with Stewart is that he kind of admitted to this. I don't think he remembered that I was advocating for it, strangely, but he did say, I think I was wrong about that. I think we should have done it. I think we should have done House more like, I don't know, Dr. Strangelove. And I was like in a restaurant with him, and I almost went. This is. But I didn't say anything. So he did come around, but because I think you can make your point without it being. Also, I think my argument also was that it stands the test of time that way. The movie has got to be relevant in an overall way instead of a like contemporary right now kind of situation. Right. So he did come around to it, but
Well, this actually kind of goes into someone else's question. I would still love to see House of Re-Animator get made. I think it would be more relevant now than ever. And you could have some fun with that.
Absolutely.
But Bad Blood's Trophy Room, that's the name, Bad Blood's Trophy Room.
Okay, Bad Blood's Trophy Room. Say that 20 times fast.
He said, his question for Jeffrey Combs, do you think Re-Animator should get a reboot? I know the answer to that. Just say it, Jeff. You know what you're thinking.
Good luck.
That says it all right there. That's like you can't get a better answer than that.
I want a sequel. I don't want a reboot.
No.
A reboot is sort of the, obvious studio. Well, yeah, we can make it work.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. First of all, Re-Animator was in the era of practical effects.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely no CGI. And it's held up the test of time. You look at some of the movies that were made when CGI first became the new tool in the toolbox, and everybody was like over the top using it. You look at those movies now and you go, "Boof,
yeah,
whoa, ouch, that's hokey," right? Yeah. If Re-Animator had been, that's part of the fun of Re-Animator is that it is all magic tricks, illusion, practical. There are no computerized images going on there. Of course, that's the first thing that a studio is going to do. So they're going to go, we're going to just jazz this thing up and make it spectacular and visually this and cut quick and fast and fly around and cut and woo, yeah. And it's like, what a mess. Because really at the heart of it, Re-Animator is character driven. Mm-hmm. It's not special effects driven. It's character driven. Well, there's special effects in there. There's some clever visual tricks. But Stewart was a storyteller first and foremost before a gag fest guy. It was, you have to care about these characters before they go on their journey so that you have an emotional investment in it. And I think that a lot of the time studios just, they don't get that. It's like, formulaic. We got to have a goose here. We got to have a goose there. And then, we're 3 minutes in. Let's say, it doesn't work that way, really. It's like you're trying to, and everything's the same.
Well, it's watered down in its formula and it's everything. Yeah. But I also think if you look at as far as the reboot, no one would do it because no one's got the balls to do that. That took a lot of balls, for lack of a better term, a lot of guts to make Re-Animator with the subject matter and what it was about and the type of movie it was. That was a gutsy movie, I think, personally.
It was also, people forget
no one
that.
would do that.
Yeah, people forget that it was unrated.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't take it to the ratings board. Mm-hmm. The movie did not go to the ratings board. And when you don't take a movie to the ratings board, you really tie financially a hand behind your back. There are theater chains that go, we're not putting that in our theaters. There are newspapers, and this happened. If you put ads in our paper for this movie, there are no visuals. You can do. I remember this, L.A. Times. The ads were black and white lettering, black background. That's all you could do. Herald Examiner, which existed at the time, you could put in the visuals. They didn't care, but that was all the way across the country, and so this movie had a real uphill climb to get exposure. Mm-hmm. And it was almost like viewed as like you're shooting yourself in the foot by not playing the game. And they just felt, look, if we play the game, we take this to the ratings board, they're going to say, cut this, cut that. You can't do that. Trim that. We don't want to see that. You can't do it. And it's the very things that they would have said you can't do, kind of which everybody talks about with Re-Animator. You can't do the head giving head scene if you go to the rating with an R rating, even though you really don't see anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Not really. And in fact, I remember Brian telling me, we had more footage that we chose not to use because it was too much. Mm-hmm. So it's like, anyway, who's gonna green light a movie to frame by frame do that again?
That was my point. My point is no one's got the guts to make that movie now. No, you couldn't do it. Not the way, not to do it justice like that. And none of those type of movies are made that. Now you have to play the game before you can even make the movie. Whereas before you made the movie and then you submitted that film and this is what we have. And you had to work, now you don't even get your foot in the door unless you agree to not do all those things that are going to make your movie great.
Also, we were the real bad boys because we did what we did. Yeah. We were kind of shunned, kind of thought of as those guys, because we were rebellious and didn't play along. Re-Animator did not blow up my career in a studio way at the time. It did not get me on the big dance floor. It didn't, because we didn't play by the rules, and we succeeded despite that. But there was sort of a quality going on. I have to say, a lot of casting directors in LA are women. And a lot of women just thought that it was really misogynistic, objectifying of women, just tasteless. Not all, but I certainly got an attitude, I should say, when I would go in for things from casting directors, like, you did that, huh? However, people like Pauline Kael, the great film critic, picked it as one of the top 10 movies of the year. So not everybody, but it didn't how many actors, did one horror movie and then all of a sudden they're in a mainstream film kind of thing.
Right.
And that didn't happen to me. Or Bruce or Barbara. It wasn't like, oh, good actors, let's get them. So it was kind of like, wow, this movie is really getting some really good buzz. maybe, this will open some doors for me. I can hope. Backlash maybe. Wow. But it has stood the test of time.
Yeah.
And it has been validated generation after generation. And I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, you should be. I can't even count how many filmmakers I talk to these days, of all kinds of newer generation filmmakers and also older ones. When I'm on a movie set, directors, producers, DPs, actors, who, it's so funny, you say Re-Animator and all those people go, oh, it's fucking classic. I love it. I learned so much about that movie. I learned so much about acting. I learned so much about shooting. I learned so much about directing. I mean, that movie amongst filmmakers in the filmmaking community is considered a work of art.
I would also say this, it was sort of surprising to me with all of those kind of things behind it. I remember opening night of Re-Animator. It opened in the Paramount Theater on Hollywood Boulevard, which is now the Disney.
El Capitan?
El Capitan. Mm-hmm. And I live near there. So I walked down from my apartment in the Hollywood Hills down to Hollywood Boulevard, and I turned the corner and I went, oh, there was a line of people waiting to go see Re-Animator down the block and around the corner. And I thought, despite all of the obstacles, the word has gotten out. And that's always been the case with Re-Animator. It's been the fans. And it shows you sort of the kind of disconnect between the alchemy that studios think versus what pleases fans. And,
reality.
yeah, and Stewart is a huge part of that. He had a vision, a tone, an approach, brash and fun and spot on. And I wouldn't be here today without him.
Well, this one kind of relates to, since we're on the Re-Animator topic and we were talking about the effects of Re-Animator, Daniel P. Craig said the reagent is debated as either a fluorescent that was hit with bright lights or was rotoscoped in post. What say you, Sir Combs?
Neither.
It was neither.
It's neither. The reagent is a natural chemical derived from phosphorescent seaweed. And it is the same stuff that you put in glow sticks and put around children's necks. But what do you have to do before they glow?
Shake them. Yeah.
Break it. Yeah. Or shake it. You break it. Because it's two chemicals that have to interact. What always blows my mind is it's also the stuff that in murder scenes, when the forensic people come in and spray for blood, it's called luminol.
Ah, yeah. How long would it last? Do you remember on set?
Yeah, sure. It would have a glow time. It would immediately get vibrant and then stay that way for maybe an hour. And then it would start to fade. Just start to diminish. But hey, just get some more. Just get some more. It's very highly toxic. I mean, I remember when I was around it and using it, they would just say, listen, if any of this gets on your hands or anything, go wash them right away. Don't drink it. Don't put it in your mouth. Don't do anything. It's not going to hurt you that way. But if you ingest it, it's not a good thing, which really sort of blows my mind with all these glow sticks that kids have. But knowing kids, they're going to find a way to go, what's in there? It's in a highly concentrated form, but it's the same stuff that you'd see out on luminescent waves, they glow like that. What the hell? So it's kind of a algae from the ocean.
When Nay and I went to Puerto Rico, we went to one of those bioluminescent in the ocean, like where you'd move your arms and it would glow. It was
right.
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
So it is a natural substance in high concentration.
Interesting. Danny Roland Ghostface said he has a question for you. He wanted to know, what did you do to prepare, or where did you get your inspiration for your funny character from the Bigfoot horror film Abominable? Abominable.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I got that character tapping into my uncle, my dad's brother. I had an uncle, Uncle JB. He didn't look like that, but he kind of talked like that, Well, yes. Hell, yes. So I just kind of channeled my Uncle JB, let my beard grow out, and I had these glasses, just thick glasses, and I had them ever since I did Fortress for Stewart, a prison breakout movie. And, that's a whole science thing, because, you don't want to put thick glasses on your face like that. It's not good for your eyes to do that. But I learned way back then that if you know what the prescription is on the plus side of the glasses, if you then get contact lenses with a negative side and put them in, you are back to being able to see. So that's what I did.
Frank Shattuck would like to know, is there any plans to make another Would You Rather film? He said, if anything deserves a sequel, it's that one.
I'm really proud of Would You Rather. You asked earlier about, how many movies, and it's Would You Rather is up there. Re-Animator, Frighteners, Would You Rather, a movie I did a long time ago that I really still adore, not a horror movie. It actually came up on Twitter yesterday. Loving a 45. It was Renee Zellweger's second movie. Rory Cochrane. It's just Peter Fonda. It's just a great cast. Great soundtrack on that movie. And anyway, Would You Rather? I don't understand why it didn't get a sequel. I don't get it. People like it. It turned out so well. The director, the team was so smart. It's disturbing. There was a script, but IFC Films distributed that one, and that'd be the first place you'd go to. I think they probably own the rights to a sequel. It just never went anywhere. There's a script. I've read it a long time ago, and it was like, okay, well, I don't understand. Again, I don't understand.
Tom Coombs, not Combs. Coombs.
Hey. Yeah.
Coombs.
Yeah, that's typical Brit. That's a Brit thing, yeah.
Well, he wanted to know what your favorite non-Herbert West role was. I guess you just kind of listed several. So do you have a favorite other than Herbert? Who would be number two?
I get questions like, what's your favorite all the time, specifically with my Star Trek stuff. I've been lucky enough to recur with 3 different characters on Star Trek, and everybody always asks me, what's your favorite? What's your favorite? I always just kind of answer it the same way. Do you have children? And they say, yeah, I have 3 kids. I go, well, which is your favorite? And that sort of makes them go, oh, yeah, okay, I see. I mean, I don't love them all. I can miss the mark just like anybody, but I'm proud of the difference. That's what I would say. I'm proud that I'm not doing the same thing every time.
Mm-hmm. Matthew Clark, speaking of Star Trek, Matthew Clark said, would you reprise your role as, is it Shran? Is that how you
Shran
in Star Trek if asked? And do you have any fun stories to share in connection to working with Barbara Crampton? And final thing, are you aware you are loved by millions of fans?
So this is like buckshot, man. It's like 3 questions.
Well, the last one you knew, yeah, millions, but you knew that one. So start with Shran.
I would love doing Shran again. People don't kind of realize something. It's a little complicated. Whenever someone designs a look on one of these shows, it's kind of someone kind of has the rights to that a little bit. I would be thrilled to do Shran again, but I would be reticent if all of a sudden the design for Shran, for legal reasons, changed. My example is, for instance, and I suspect this is the case, Klingons. Why do Klingons look so different now?
On the new series on Discovery.
Yes.
I think mainly because they were going for a reboot vibe and kind of giving everything an update.
I know the makeup artist for that show and for a lot of Star Trek stuff. I work on it sometimes, but it's not a rights thing so much. It's people trying to put their own stamp and take and update it and make things look a little more realistic.
I get it. I understand that. So, but it was a big leap, and for fans, it was jarring. Wait a minute, that's not the Klingons I know. Mm-hmm. To be fair, if you ever go back into the original series and look what the Klingons look like, they're basically like, humans with goatees. Original, before the foreheads. Yeah, so even there was a change. So I think maybe they got into the they changed them once, we can change them again. Mm-hmm. But I guess it's a little different when it's like an entire race and we're not like, Michael Dorn's not going to be in that makeup, right? It's not going to be anybody that you're familiar with. It's going to be a whole new Klingon look, right? Mm-hmm. Therefore, we don't have to worry about it. It won't be so jarring, maybe. So if Shran came back, I would just really not want to have to contend with, he looks so different. He's going to look somewhat different because I'm just older. But at the same time, I don't want to be wrong for the fans to be redesigned in a way. But I don't really necessarily foresee it happening anyway, because in these new iterations, I'm not seeing a lot of revisiting of what came before. I just don't. Do you?
I'll be honest with you. I don't watch the.
I don't watch it. I don't watch it. So.
Right. I'm very sort of loyal to the character and protective, I suppose, and invested. And so I guess it would be, if I did do it, I'd have some questions. That's all.
Any fun stories to share with in connection to working with Barbara?
Listen, I've worked with Barbara a number of times. She's a pro and always a happy and positive spirit. And we get along famously, and we are good friends. And we have a lot of memories together, working on things. And I so cherish her friendship, and I'm really proud of what she's continuing to accomplish as an actress and as a producer, and fun stories, though. Most of the time it's work. Most of the time we're working. I do remember once we were having lunch with Stuart in the castle, shooting Castle Freak. And someone came up with Re-Animator is, funny. Humor in Re-Animator. Barbara and I kind of, the humor aspect. And Stuart across the table went, Re-Animator's not funny. We were like, what? It's not funny. It's not. Well, then why do people laugh? Stuart was a strong-willed and opinionated guy, and he always could amaze me with. You'd think that he would say one thing and he'd say something else, and that was one of them. It's like, you do know that people do find humor in Re-Animator, but I think part of that came from, if you notice, there's not as much humor in From Beyond, and he did that on purpose. I think maybe that the humor aspect in Re-Animator might have surprised him a little bit. And I think that he wanted to convey that actually I'm a serious director. And so maybe it had something to do with that. But Barbara and I were like, ooh.
There are some pretty damn funny moments in From Beyond, though. I mean, my favorite line, I think to this day, I think it might be my favorite delivery from you of all time, is the gingerbread man line.
Bit off his head. Like a gingerbread man.
Yeah, I was real resistant to saying that.
Yeah.
I said that exactly the way Stuart wanted me to say it.
Yeah.
So kudos to him for knowing that when I was somewhat resistant, because the fucking camera was right in my face, and now you want me to go even closer in there and do it that big? Okay. But you know, that's Stuart. Breaking boundaries. You can do it. Believe it. Commit. It's all about commitment with Stuart. If you commit, it doesn't, you know.
Yeah.
Be bold.
If you believe it, everyone else will. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Acting is.
I just watched that movie the other night. That movie, again, it's crazy. That movie is crazy.
And I think it's the most Lovecraftian film that I have, that I've seen. There's a few. I do feel, though, that the approach, the visual color palette that Mac chose, the vibrancy, it is an homage, you know, to not only Lovecraft's mythos, but also all of those like mad scientists movies that I'm sure Stuart grew up in, seeing them in theaters, you know. It's just so great follow-up to Re-Animator, and a real gift to Lovecraft.
When did you watch From Beyond again, Chris?
Just a couple nights ago.
You came over to my house, you saw the resonator, and you're like, I need to watch that again. Is that what? Because he was at my house Saturday.
No, actually, I didn't go upstairs that day.
You never went
upstairs?
upstairs?
It was.
Oh,
you have the resonator. I forget this.
Yeah.
You have the resonator.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here, let me tell you, you'll think this is funny because you know Nay, my fiance.
Yes, I do.
So she is the pickiest person on the planet and almost hates every movie. She's not really a movie fan, period.
Okay.
But I make her watch stuff, and 99.9% of the time she hates it. She doesn't emote too much, so you never can read her, right? I showed her Re-Animator, and I thought she was going to think it was the stupidest thing ever. She loved Re-Animator, which shocked me. So then I go, we got to watch From Beyond. I turn it on. The resonator is literally right over our shoulder as we're watching From Beyond. I go, you have no idea how awesome this is. You're getting to watch the movie. It's right there. How cool is that? She was like, yeah, I didn't like that. And she's like, and I think that thing looks stupid. It looks like a water heater with a disco ball. I'm like, okay. All right.
Well, it is an homage to all of those Frankenstein movies with those big switches that, you know, it's like right out of all of that stuff, you know.
She does not appreciate it. So,
oh, to each his own, but
exactly.
But it was
get used to it. It ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. And you have the only one.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's amazing because, you know, that was in Italy, that thing, and so somebody had to ship that damn thing back and then store it somewhere for all those years. And
well, I remember when I talked to Stuart about when Stuart found out I had it, He was like, are you kidding me? I figured that ended up in a dumpster in Italy. He goes, somebody sent that back? And I'm like, yeah.
Somebody sent that back.
He wanted it. He wanted it. Stuart wanted it.
Of course he did. Of course he did.
Yeah.
You can't have it.
He never directly asked me, but he hinted at it, and he told, was it you? He told somebody he wants it back. I can't remember. Somebody said, Stuart said he wants it. And I was like,
I was at a signing at Dark Delicacies maybe a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago. And these two dudes came in, I think they're brothers, and they designed it. Maybe it's who you got it from.
The brothers didn't design it. They were friends with the guy who designed. You're talking about the Skotek brothers. Dennis and Robert Skotek. They're visual effects artists. They do miniatures, and they were the guys that when I interviewed them for Escape from New York, I saw it in their studio, and that's when I was like, oh my God. And I gave them my number, and I said, if you ever sell this,
call me. Well, my point is, when I was there, they brought to me the miniature.
Oh, yeah. They tried to sell me that too.
Of the Resonator. It's like the miniature, like probably the thing that they took to Stuart. Did they make the miniature? Did they make the Resonator?
They got that from the same guy. The story Dennis Skotek told me, I'm trying to look up the real guy's name right now. Dennis told me that he went over to his friend's house, who was an effects guy or a production designer. It was in the living room. And he said that he fell in love with it. He'd never seen From Beyond, didn't know the movie, just thought it was a very cool piece of science fiction art. And he said he bought that and the maquette, the miniature you're talking about. And the funny thing is, the story, what actually happened that day when I'm looking for his name while we're talking. What happened that day when I went to their studio is I was looking on the shelf and I saw the miniature was about that big. And I go, oh my God, is that the Resonator from Beyond? And he goes, yeah, the real one's over there. And I was like, oh shit. Cause their studio was really dark. And he goes, oh yeah, it works. He plugged it in. And that's when I was like, oh my God, I need to have this.
Well, that's what I said to him about the miniature. I went, oh my God, I got to have this. They go, well,
Well, I know the guy who ended up buying the miniature because they sold me the big one. And then he called me about a year later and said, would you be interested in buying the maquette? And he offered it to me. I think he wanted $1,500 for it. And I said, it's awesome. And I kind of regret not getting it now, but I was like, I got the real one. Do I need the model of the real one? So I just kind of said, nah, it's cool.
Well, what I think about it is that miniature is what the guy who designed the Resonator took to Stuart probably and said, this is what I'm thinking of. Mm-hmm. This little miniature version of what I will be. So to think that sat in front of Stuart, I'm sure he had some notes, but he greenlit, do that.
Yeah.
That's sort of pretty special.
It's driving me crazy that I can't find this guy's name, but
his name will probably ring a bell when I hear it too.
I know where I have it because I had him write me up a certificate of authenticity, and he wrote a letter telling me who he purchased it from. And I have that in the other room, but I'm just hoping I could recognize his name through the credits here.
Gave you the provenance.
It's going to drive me nuts. Let me go look real quick, all right?
I was curious of what you've learned about Poe that not many people know.
Well,
is there anything that surprised you other than almost everything?
Everybody always says, well, Poe was a drunk, an alcoholic, couldn't keep a job, complex man is what I would say. Not somebody that you could categorize. All of his tales, his short stories and stuff are actually quite diverse. Not all of them are ghoulish and horror based at all. He was very, very just completely kaleidoscopic in his diversity, had a lot of interests, and also that he was a really sweet guy. He was very gentle. I just think he was humanity writ large. Maybe he was bipolar, but I don't know. I mean, a lot of his flare-ups had to do with grievances and feeling an inequality between North and South. You know, the Northern writers, mostly from Boston, really looked down on Southerners and didn't think anything literary could ever come out of the South, and that really got him going. So I would just say that it can't be categorized. I remember one time going to the library and I found a book in the Poe section of the writings of Poe, essays and letters. Okay. Essays and letters. That book was about that thick, and the font was minuscule. And it was just, who writes this much? I mean, the man died when he was 39.
Right.
And that didn't count all of the things that we really know him for. That didn't count his poetry, and that didn't count his tales. These were essays, criticisms. He was a critic, and he was an editor, and he was also a literary critic. He would read other people's books and then write a review, sometimes for money.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. Wow.
Well, it was part of his job as an editor of magazines, biweekly magazines that, he put them all together, and a lot of the time his tales were out of necessity. Oh my gosh, I have space I have to fill. What do I do? Okay. And he would just quickly put something together, and oh, good. Newspaper's done. Magazine's done. Good. Next. Whew. And here we are all these years later going, wow.
Right. What did he mean by it?
Yes, exactly. He was also a merry prankster. He loved, they were called cryptograms then, word puzzles. He wrote Charles Dickens, who was a contemporary of his. And at the time, Charles Dickens was writing a serialized story, and Poe got to a certain point and wrote him a letter and said, I know how you're going to end this. This is how you're going to end it. And Charles Dickens wrote him back and like, how did you know that? He was a genius. They met twice, when Dickens was over in America doing exactly what I do in the show, holding recitals, and they met for like a lunch or whatever a couple of times. Poe was trying to get Dickens to get him a publisher in England. A lot of people don't know, but Poe, when he was a child, lived in England. Yes, he was from Baltimore, but his adopted parents, the father was kind of a businessman, mercantile kind of guy, and he decided to open a branch in England and moved there. And so Poe, I really think it was a pivotal thing in Poe's life. He was a young boy, maybe 9 to 12, 13, somewhere around in there, maybe younger. Don't really have that clear, but he went to school in England, and I'm no doubt that kind of education in the classics that he received was a foundation for a lot of his writing, because I don't think you're going to find that in Baltimore in the 1820s, particularly.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing.
I found the answer.
Yes.
His name was David Zen Mansley.
Okay, so that doesn't ring a bell.
Now that I looked him up on IMDb, it says designer and creator of the Resonator. So,
and how they came across him and found him, because he's from LA, he's American, right?
Yeah.
So he built that thing and they shipped it over there.
Yeah.
And you have it.
Yeah.
Someday I want to pull that switch again.
Oh, he also worked with you on Pit and the Pendulum. He was second unit set design.
Wow.
So I don't want to keep you any longer. So we're going to wrap this up.
I'm enjoying this, guys. Don't worry about it.
I'm glad.
So are we.
But I want to go ahead and end on this final, and this is up to you. You can say yes or no.
Okay, but before you do, I just want to say something. Is that a Waxworks record T-shirt that you got there?
Yes, Waxworks records, yes.
I want to just point out to you, what was their first soundtrack that Waxwork ever put out?
Wasn't it Re-Animator?
Bingo.
Yeah. Mighty fine release, by the way. I own the really limited glow-in-the-dark vinyl.
I may too. I've got some out there and never been opened.
Yeah, they did a beautiful job with that.
They really did. I was so honored that that's what they chose to do their launch with. So
see, that's just a testament to how great the film is. A whole company put their company on your back, hoping
shows to go you.
Yeah. Barry Rubin would like to know. He said, first off, you are very memorably. What is he? Memorably played. Oh, you have very I don't know if he wrote this correctly. Anyway, he's saying he loves your Poe, and he asked if you would possibly recite just a small bit on the podcast. You don't have to if you don't want to. Don't put you on the spot. I can cut this out if you don't want to do it. Like it never happened.
From childhood's hour, I have not been as others were. I have not seen as others saw. I could not bring my passions from the common spring, and from the same source I have not found my sorrows. I could not awaken my heart to joy at the same tone, and all I loved alone. I'll go that far. There's more to it than that,
but you have to pay for that.
Yeah,
you got to pay for that.
I will say that, as I say in the show, right after I recite that poem, he wrote that when he was not yet 20 years of age.
Wow, it's amazing.
That is a full-blown, mature literary voice right there. And he's like 19.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Saying to himself, I'm not like everybody. I don't see things the way they see it. I don't feel the way they see it. I just am different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm different. And it's sort of a testament, a self-knowledge there. And he doesn't sound like he's okay. It disturbs him. He's just acknowledging, boy, I'm really different. The crowd's all over there, and I'm kind of an outsider. And I think people really can relate to that kind of feeling of being the other. Artists certainly can. We can all relate to that. In keeping with that, I want you guys to know, and it really hasn't been announced yet or anything, but we are on the verge of releasing later this year. We found a recording of one of my shows, and we're going to put it out on an audiobook.
Oh, amazing. Oh,
a lot of the show doesn't translate to an audiobook because it's somewhat visual. So it had to be somewhat trimmed to fit the platform. The audio is different than being on stage. You know, there's things that don't translate, the quiet, silent things that go on. But I'm really happy with how it turned out.
I'm very excited about that. I know Stephanie will be ecstatic about it.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I think it also captures the spirit of the show, the audience exuberance and their participation, my interplay a little bit with them, just the ambiance of a live performance. I mean, it's not just me reading stuff. It's me really performing it on my feet in real time. So we'll see how that goes.
Is there a place fans can go to stay updated on that? Do you have any, like, is there like your social media?
I am telling you before we have gotten to a place. Right now we've completed it and we're just waiting to put it on a platform like Audible.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
but is there somewhere that fans could maybe follow you online to be able to, you know, when it is announced, be able to find out more info? Are you on any social media or anything that they could follow you on?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not yet.
Good for you. Good for you.
Well, you know what? You'll keep us informed, and we'll talk about it on the show.
You come back. Will you come back and visit us? Come back and do this again? Would you do that?
I would love to do that, and that's a bit of an exclusive for you guys. I almost hesitated saying anything about it because I don't want to get out in front of it, but I see this as a good opportunity to just sort of maybe plant a seed. That's something that I've been working on in my my isolation here.
Awesome. That's very exciting. Thank you for sharing
notes and putting this piece together. You know, just something that people can sit and put headphones on or turn it up and just kind of close their eyes and just kind of imagine what it might be like.
Excellent. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate
Thank you.
That.
It was a lot of fun. It was good seeing you, you know, even though it's through a screen. It's good seeing you because I miss you.
Hey, do me a favor and flip the switch on the resonator and take a trip on me. Let me know what you see. I kind of have an idea though. I don't think it's going to be good for you. I'm just telling you. Turn it off.
Thank you, sir. It was an honor. Thank you so much for being here.
Great. Thanks for asking me to do this anytime. Okay?
Wonderful conversation.
All right.
Wish we could do it again, sir.
Hey, vote.
Vote.
Okay.
Take a bathroom break if you need it.
I'll take a potato chip break.
There you go, potato chip break.